Speaker.
I call Scott Simpson.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much. It's with an enormous degree of pride and pleasure that I rise in this budget debate to speak in support of Bill English's 7th budget. And what a great budget it was, not just for this John Key National-led government, but a great budget for New Zealand and all New Zealanders. It's part of a plan that's working, Mr Speaker, and it's part of a plan that has been in place now for 7 years of careful, prudent fiscal management that has enabled Bill English and the National Party team to negotiate their way on behalf of all New Zealanders through some of the most difficult economic times our country has seen. And it's a budget that has allowed now, as some light at the end of the tunnel is emerging, for us as a government to address some of the real hardship and need that exists in our community. But before I get into the meat of my presentation today to you, Mr Speaker, I just want to make comment on the contribution made earlier this afternoon by my colleague, the Honourable Maggie Barry, Minister of Conservation. And I was delighted as member for Coromandel to note that the budget includes a further spending allowance of $11.2 million to further protect the future of our native bird, the kiwi. People who are familiar with the Coromandel will know that the Coromandel produces fine kiwi. It's a natural breeding area, and an awful lot of terrific kiwi preservation work is being done by worthy organisations such as the Moehau Environment Group, and I commend the work that they do and many others to this House. So I was delighted to see that extra spending because, of course, kiwi are known around the world as our national symbol, and they are under threat, and this is a government that wants to make sure that that threat is diminished and that further protection for our kiwi is made available. I'm particularly enthused by the Kohanga Kiwi project, where essentially kiwi will now be able to be farmed, and their longevity and future prosperity as a species will be preserved and secured. And so what I particularly want to talk about in terms of my budget contribution today, Mr Speaker, is how proud I am that when the Prime Minister stood up on election night last year and he said to the nation, after acknowledging the comprehensive National Party victory that we were able to secure, he stood up and he said, this national-led government will govern for all people, for all New Zealanders. And here in this 7th budget of Bill English's is the evidence of that occurring. Yesterday, sir, I listened very closely to my colleague, the Honourable Paula Bennett, who gave her budget speech yesterday afternoon, and she spoke of her pride also as being now an Associate Finance Minister, and of the work that she and the finance team had done in the preparation and lead-up to Budget 2015. And she reminded us that Bill English and his team have been working steadily away on this budget for now probably the best part of 12 months. In fact, I understand that work on Budget 2016 has already commenced. But it's easy, sir, to forget that ours is an economy with a 2.8% economic growth, and that we are projecting a further 150,000 new jobs being created. And it's easy to remember, sir, that when we first started talking a couple of years ago about creating 170,000 jobs, it would be fair to say that members on the opposition and on the left were derisory in their comments and their ambition and their aspiration for creating that number of jobs. And they took every opportunity, sir, to criticise and to discount and to reject that as any kind of realistic prospect. Well, here we are now, sir, in Budget 2015 saying, well, no, we didn't actually create 170,000 new jobs. Actually, the economy has produced 194,000 new jobs. 194,000 new jobs have been created in this economy under Bill English's prudent, careful management since 2011. And that's important, sir, because it makes an absolute fundamental difference to the quality of life and the future prospects for New Zealanders. Seeing the average wage increase year on year on year is another sign of how strong our economy is and what the benefits, the tangible material benefits are for hard-working New Zealanders. That people have more money available in their pockets and are able to get jobs is a sign of a healthy, growing economy. And that seeing us project unemployment will continue to drop is another sign of good things to come, and that employment will continue to rise. So from the projections, it's easy to see, Mr Speaker, that Budget 2015 indicates very well and truly that we are headed in the right direction, and we are projecting a 4.5% unemployment rate, which is still too high, but it's better than almost all our comparable nations around the world. And what we can see, Mr Speaker, is that over the last 6.5 years, we've moved resources of the state to those who fundamentally need it most. And to watch the faces of the opposition as Bill English was reading his budget, it was obvious as I was sitting on the crossbenches at the back, as I do as a hard-working backbencher, I saw the blood literally drain from Grant Robertson's face as Bill English was reading his budget. And we are unashamed in our approach of wanting to target benefits and increases to those who are facing the most difficulties and who are in the most hardship in our society. And we've done that actually over a period of years, as Paula Bennett pointed out in her speech yesterday, by actually resetting the compass, if you like, of welfareism in New Zealand. And I well remember when this government first came to power in 2008, Paula Bennett was then the Minister for Social Development. And she said in her speech yesterday that she'd never forgotten as a new Minister of Social Development visiting Paris with a number of social development type ministers from around the world and telling them that we had a social welfare system where there were absolutely no obligations on someone who was receiving state-funded welfare until their youngest child turned 18. She said that it was unimaginable that in other countries that a social welfare system could operate like that, and that even when their youngest child turned 18, it was simply a matter of having another child, and then you get another 18 years of unquestioned access to state welfare. Well, we've fundamentally changed that expectation and the balance of what is expected from people, because social welfare is actually part of a social contract. And the social contract is such that it means that there is support and the benefit of the state and other taxpayers' support available to people when they most need it. And all of us agree that that is a fine and wonderful baseline for our social welfare system. But the quid pro quo, Mr Speaker, is that people who are receiving state welfare should not see it as a lifestyle or permanent choice, that actually they should be, where they can, be available for work. And so part of the change that has occurred in the period of time since we've been in government is we've reset that balance, and we've made sure that those people had hope and opportunities, because under the last Labor Green government they didn't have hope or opportunity. We've reset the balance that had been lost from our welfare system for so long, and so that now people who are receiving welfare can actually see some bright hope on the horizon, that their life is not destined to be one of perpetual, unlimited, future, relentless welfare dependency. And I say, sir, that's got to be a very good thing. But what people sometimes forget is that we could not have made that reset change if it hadn't been for the careful, prudent stewardship of the government's and the nation's financial accounts that Bill English and his team have been able to steward on our behalf over the last 7 years. We couldn't have done that and reset the welfare expectation balance if the underlying books had not been sound. Paula Bennett actually, I think, sir, can take huge personal credit for the achievements of the government in that area and for the brighter future that now so many New Zealanders find. Sir, this is a good budget. It's a prudent, careful budget, and it's a budget that shows that this government has a great understanding of what is needed in times of hardship, but also with a glimmer of hope to the future for all. I commend it to the House.